93 जेको PPC असांजो सेक्शन आहे कम्युनिकेशन मेड इन गुड फेथ. नो कम्युनिकेशन मेड इन गुड फेथ इज़ एन ऑफेंसिव by reasons of any harm to the person to whom it is made, if it is made for the benefit of that person. Illustrations ये आए तो a surgeon good faith communicate to a patient his opinion that he cannot alive. The patient dies is consequence of the shock. A has communicated no offences though he knew it to be likely that communications might cause the patient death. उनखां पोइ असांजो एक्ट टू विच अ पर्सन इज़ कंपेल्ड बाय थ्रेट्स एक्सेप्ट मर्डर इन ऑफेंसिस अगेंस्ट द स्टेट पनिशेबल विद डेथ. Nothing is an offence which is done by a person who is compelled to do it by threats, which at the time of doing it reasonably cause the apprehension that instant death to that person will otherwise be the consequences, provided the person doing the act did not of his own accord from a reasonable apprehensions of harm to himself, short of instant death, place himself in the situation by which he became subject to such a constraint. Explanation number first, a person who of his own accord by reasons of threat of being beaten join a gang of dacoits, knowing their characters not entitled to the benefit of his exception on the ground of his having been compelled by his associate to do anything that is an offence by law. Second explanation, a person seized by gang of dacoits and forced by threat of instant death to do things which is an offence by law. For example, a Simat compelled to take his tool and to force the door of house for the dacoits to enter and plunder, entitled to the benefit of this exception. 95 sections PPC act causing a slight harm. Nothing is an offence by reasons that it cause, that it is intended to cause, that it is known to be likely to cause any harm. That harm is so slight that no person of ordinary sense and temper would complain of such a harm. Of the right of private defences, things done in private defences. Nothing is an offence which is done in the exercise of right of private defences. Satyanve, right of private defense of the body and of the property. Every person has a right subject to the restriction contained in section 99 to define first his own body and the body of any other person against any offence affecting the human body. Secondly, the property whether movable or immovable of himself, of any other person against any which is an offences falling under the definitions of theft, robbery, mischief or criminal trespass, which is an attempt to commit the theft, robbery, mischief or criminal trespass. उनखां पोइ जेको असांजो सेक्शन नंबर 98 right of private defense against the act of person of unsound mind. So when an act which would otherwise be a certain offence is not that offences by reason of the youth, the want of maturity of understanding the unsoundness of mind, or the intoxications of the person doing that act by reasons of any misconception on the part of that person. Every person has the same right of private defense against that act which he would have if the act was that offensive. Misal Z under the influence of madness attempt to kill A. Z is guilty of no offences, but A has the same right of private defense which he would have if Z were sane. उनखां पोइ जेको असांजो A enters by night house which he is legally entitled to enter. Z in good faith taking A for the house breaker attacks A. Here Z by attacking Z under this misconception commit no offences, but A has the same right of private defense against Z which he would have if Z were not acting under that misconception. उनखां पोइ जेको असांजो सेक्शन आहे एक्ट against it which there is no right of private defences. There is no right of private defense against an act which does not reasonably cause the apprehensions of death or of a grievous hurt if done or attempted to be done by a public servant act in good faith under the colour of his office, though that act may not be strictly justifiable by law. There is no right of private defense against an act which does not reasonably cause the apprehension of death or of grievous hurt if done or attempt to be done by the directions of public servant acting in good faith under color of his offences. Their direction may not be strictly justifiable by law. There is no right of private defense cases in which there is a time to have recourse to the protections of the public authorities. Extent to which the right may be exercised. The right of private defense is no case extend to the inflicting of more harm than it is necessary to inflict for the purpose of defenses.